the Green Lantern Corps, one of comics' most popular intergalactic heroes. Created almost 70 years ago, DC was looking to take advantage of the space race, which would become more prevalent in the 60s, taking us from Earth to endless planets above. Going from the original protagonist, Alan Scott, to a whole new character, Hal Jordan, who's first introduced to us as a Daredevil test pilot, then upon being chosen by a dying Abin Sur to be the next Green Lantern based off his own indomitable willpower, Hal was ushered in to us as readers into a whole new era of space adventures, introducing us to many new lanterns throughout the generations, such as John Stewart, Guy Gardner, Kyle Rayner, the underrated one, and of course, Duck Dodgers. Yep, that's right, Daffy Duck was a Green Lantern. And today on Saber Comics, we're going to go over why Green Loontern is one of my personal favorite lanterns of all time, right next to John Stewart. Welcome back, friends, to Character Breakdown. Hello there, everyone. Welcome back to Saber Comics. I'm your host, Saberking. Well, you are definitely new to the party, as this is a return of something that we haven't had in a while. This was originally thought up by myself and my friend Alex Carson. Character Breakdown was going to be a new way of introducing and talking over characters that I cared about, and also getting them into new audiences' minds. And with the new Green Lantern anniversary coming this year, and hopefully Absolute Green Lantern will be amazing, and the release of the Looney Tunes movie The Day the Earth Blew Up, I thought it was time to go back and revisit one of my favorite Looney Tunes properties of all time, that being the early 2000 show, Duck Dodgers. This series took the concept from the original masterpiece short and expanded it into 3 seasons of space adventures. Think of it like Star Trek meets Looney Tunes, and there would be a bunch of references, new and old, a couple of crossovers here and there, and we would get to see Duck Dodgers do his thing with his sidekick, the eager young space cadet, and they would fight the Martian commander, played by Marvin the Martian, and they would occasionally go up against Duck Dodgers' ex-wife, the Martian Queen herself, aka our childhood crushes. Don't lie, you had a thing for her, you just didn't know it. Now, I could talk about this series in depth, but that's already been done, and I would highly recommend going to check out these lovely folks who have talked about the show. I also would like to say that my friend Cap, aka Kyle himself, also talked about the show at length. So he could probably provide more funny bits about it than I could. And since this channel is called Saber Comics, I decided that there's only one episode that fits the criteria of what we're eventually going to cover here. And that is, of course, superheroes. Now, yes, I've been willing to break the rules before, but I want to try and at least put a spotlight on this episode in particular, which is the Green Loontern. The Green Loontern is the 9th episode in the series, and it's probably the one that most people remember, but it's not the one that we often look back on the most. I would actually say that Samurai Quack has a lot more nostalgia for it than this episode, which is a shame because the Green Loontern is a full 22 minutes. So we're just going to go ahead and discuss why I like this more, and why I want to make a case that Daffy should be counted as an honorary Green Lantern. And let me just state this: if we can allow planets, creatures, Guy Gardner onto the Lantern Corps, why not Daffy? So let's just go ahead and break this down. Spoilers if you haven't seen this episode, because we're going to be showing a lot of clips. So the episode, of course, opens with Daffy taking the eager young space cadet on both their days off to do his errands, and upon going to his dry cleaners, he accidentally gets a Green Lantern suit and a Green Lantern ring. Upon putting it on, Daffy sees that he now has new powers and is wanting to take this very seriously, as, in his own words,
"It is a particular and rare honor to be the first of my species to receive the gift of flight. I shall not abuse this rare privilege too much.
He goes around abusing the privilege, mainly harassing the eager young space cadet who tells him what the Green Lanterns are and getting into more shenanigans after deciding that he wants to be a hero but not before going to check out a female pedestrian, until he accidentally encounters her dog after reciting Romeo and Juliet to the dog, then throwing a buddy ball and causing the dog to jump off. Well, Daffy obviously does not endorse animal cruelty, and it should be noted that no actual toon animal was harmed in the making of this episode. After being well received by the public, then turned on because the girl managed to just teleport downstairs and tell them that it was his fault, Daffy gets summoned back to the planet Oa. By the way, I love how the planet Oa looks in this. It definitely goes for the familiar green design that we would actually see the Green Lantern movie, the Green Lantern animated series more or less adopt. Because, hey, if they're called Green Lanterns, it only makes sense that the planet itself has a green atmosphere around it. We then cut to multiple Green Lanterns being teleported away by these robots voiced by D. Bradley Baker, which, by the way, D. Bradley has some killer deliveries in this episode.
Hey, I think I went to high school with him. Oh yeah? Where'd you go? I went to East Polygon High. How about you? North High Tech. The Crimson Techies, huh? I hate you!
Daffy now has to join the remaining Lanterns, Kilowog, and...
I don't know, Cat Matui, but I say we skip the introductions.
We also get some cameos from other good Lanterns, such as Tomar Ray, Guy Gardner, John Stewart, until they're teleported away. Okay, that's nice. Couldn't even get anything. Wow, that's lovely. Wait a minute. Where the hell is Kyle Rayner? Even in Duck Dodgers, he gets no love. Don't worry, Kyle. Your day will come one day. We then see Daffy be recruited after they accidentally think he's a spy from Sinestro. Seriously, he saved Ganthet, one of the good Owen Guardians, and he's still accused of being a spy. Also, let's be real, this is kind of foreshadowing in hindsight, and we'll get to that. Daffy is then brought along to do the Lantern Oath after a plan is surmised to rescue all the Lanterns. And also, this might as well be Daffy's own custom oath.
In blackest day or brightest night, watermelon, cantaloupe, yada yada, a superstitious and cowardly lot, with liberty and justice for all.
Daffy, of course, goes into this planet, infiltrates it as a bot, has some hilarious interactions that we can totally montage, and then he is eventually captured after shutting down the shield, and he meets Sinestro, which, by the way, this dialogue exchange between the two of them is very funny. The late Joe Alasky and John Delancey, yes, Q and Discord from MLP play Sinestro, which isn't the strangest casting choice this show has done. It really is not. I mean, Mako was in it, for God's sakes. We get a great banter between the both of them that essentially goes into Sinestro actually recruiting Green Loontern, and then showing us his dastardly plan, which, by the way, Crisis on Infinite Earths totally could have used this as a way for the whole universe thing to be, destroyed. Maybe I could use it in something. That's just more foreshadowing. Let's get back to the episode. Daffy, of course, is his usual annoying self, but after seeing his fellow Lanterns in trouble, he proudly proclaims that he is a Green Lantern, and he's able to revive the whole Corps and stop Sinestro and his device with assistance from the other Green Lanterns, but after being presumed dead, when it turns out he just slipped out of the costume. Venture Brothers would also use this exact same joke. Interesting. We then see Hal Jordan himself, voiced by Kevin Smith of all people. Oh my god. Okay, pause right here. Kevin Smith's voice coming out of this particular model for Hal, it's weird yet appropriate at the same time. However, I'm not going to say that this is how I would imagine Hal sounding whenever I read his dialogue in comics. That still goes to Josh Keaton. Sorry, Kevin. Daffy is then given back his suit, and Hal is given back his lantern and his outfit. Then we see them fly off after Daffy is left all alone and the cadet can't go rescue him. This is one of my all-time favorite episodes of the whole show, and it's actually a big reason as to why I always love the idea of the Looney Tunes and DC Comics crossing over. Because when you have the Looney Tunes in the super serious DC universe, it's a great balance. However, the irony is, even though the situation itself is dire, this really feels like it came from the Super Friends more than modern-day DC Comics in the 2000s. Hell, Sinestro and Hal look like they just came from the Super Friends, or at least from the DCAU. Wait a minute. Nah, we'll put a pin in that. I also love how the episode takes full advantage of Daffy as a lantern. He gets to use the typical constructs. He even gets to be a part of the action. He's actually very good at following the plan, and he's improvising quite a little bit along the way, and he actually manages to pull one over on Sinestro multiple times. This definitely feels like a Darkwing Duck style of writing, which is kind of weird because one of the writers of Duck Dodgers and this episode is Paul Dini himself, who was a producer on the show. And yes, that is the same Paul Dini who co-created Harley Quinn and wrote some of the great stories of the DCAU period. So to see him involved here is a little funny. Unfortunately, I was not able to track down if he was involved heavily in this episode upon its creation, so that's a little up for debate. But this wouldn't be the last time we would see the Green Loontern. Oh no, as in the 2014 video game LEGO Batman 3 Beyond Gotham, aka the most pain in the ass LEGO Batman game, if you know, you know, he would be a playable character if you were able to do some missions upon the various Green Lantern planets. And let me just say this, collecting and doing all these challenges on these godforsaken planets with this stupid camera angle was definitely not worth it, but even then I enjoyed playing as him, and what's great is that they managed to get Joe Alasky to come back one last time, and I enjoyed it heavily. I love this episode so much that I actually own a frame of this pose, and it shows my commitment to the episode more than any other episode, hell, even more than any other show for that matter, and I want to see the Looney Tunes and the DC world crossover more often outside of comic books and jokes. If we manage to get a movie with these characters together, it would be amazing. But alas, I don't think it's possible. Not with the state Warner Brothers is currently going through. However, before we end off, I think there's one last question I have to pull the pin out on. Is this episode canon to the DCAU? Well, as I said, it uses some designs from the Super Friends that would later be adopted into Justice League and Justice League Unlimited. Hell, Hal actually does make an appearance in the DCAU in a brief cameo in the episode A Once and Future Thing, Part 2, where the universe is essentially destroying itself and shit is getting wacky. We would also see Sinestro wear more or less the same outfit with a different skin complexion. Granted, he's not voiced by John Delancey, but it's possible. And I just want to know, what is this episode canon to? If it's canon to the Super Friends, then how could they be in the 23rd century? If it's canon to the DCAU, then that means it must be within the Batman Beyond timeline. Or if it's canon to LEGO Batman 3, that just raises even more questions because this is Kevin Smith and not Josh Keaton. Oh, okay, I just can't take it anymore. I gotta know. I'm gonna call in a favor. Hey James, is this episode canon to the DCAU?
Is it canon? To what? The DC animated universe? It's Looney Tunes, and so are you. I mean, we see Jon Stewart, and he's wearing white gloves, case closed. But really, as I'm sure you're tired of hearing me say, everything being under a different lens of Looney Tunes character designs doesn't actually mean anything. Kat Matui and Tomar Ree can be super duper Warner Brothers-ified. That's just how we'd see them on this show. Like, we'd probably see Duck Dodgers in Bruce Timm style if he appeared on Justice League. The only missed opportunity is seeing the Cadet and Kilowog on screen at the same time. Pig boys unite! But if I'm getting really picky, and I am, when Dodgers accidentally nabs the Green Lantern suit at the dry cleaners, he says it's black vinyl and latex. While in the DCAU, we've always seen that the suits are created by the Ring. They're energy constructs, essentially, and would never even need to be dry cleaned. What a silly concept! It's like it's Looney Tunes or something! But damn it. I guess back in Superman the Animated Series, Abin Sur's suit is physical. He dies and swoops off to Green Lantern heaven and his pajamas just flop to the ground. What even happened to those? Are they what got sent off to the dry cleaners? Did Duck Dodgers find Abin Sur's ring in his pocket? Was the ring meant to go to Hal Jordan, but friggin' Daffy Duck found it first and then it passes off to Hal and, well, no, I'm thinking way too hard about this. At the end of the day, this takes place in the 24th and 1/2 century, like 300 years after Justice League. The answer's still no, Richard. I'm sorry. But holy crap, John Delancey playing Sinestro is the perfect cast.
Ah, shit. Well, great. There go my plans for a Daffy and Hawkgirl fanfic. Oh well. Until then, I hope you enjoyed this episode, and if you did, give a like. Comment down below. If you're new, subscribe. And definitely subscribe to my friend Aaron, who edited this episode, and go ahead and give a big subscribe to the WatchTower database for providing a 30-second explanation. I hope you all enjoyed, and until then, this is Saberking saying, Geronimo.